1. So last Saturday we had 2 women, both aged 40 plus, wandering around the winery around close time, who licked multiple of my co-workers' faces. Don't know why. I would assume it was their way of flirting. One of my fellow security officers had witnessed her trying to kiss one of our employees and called him away from her and asked her to leave the premises at once for sexually assaulting multiple people. No one wanted to press charges on her, so we let her know she would just be asked to leave the property and nothing further would happen as long as she complied. She didn't. I got a call from another security guard saying she started becoming aggressive, so I raced to the scene with my boss and another security officer behind me. I came up to her and told her, "Ma'am, you're being asked to leave the premises at once for sexually assaulting multiple employees. Either leave peacefully now, or you will be issued an official 602 warning." She started yelling, "Fuck you," and struck his phone while recording. There was first contact of assault. While her friends stayed quiet, they didn't leave, so my boss began recording on his phone and said, "This is your official 602 warning for trespassing on our property. If you fail to leave after I'm done giving this 602 warning, you will be arrested for trespassing. Do you refuse to leave?" As he was saying this, I began to move closer to the quiet woman, seeing how she would react. She didn't move an inch. This is how I knew she had become a problem in this time frame. Most people would start to back away as you close in on them. She was special. After we were done recording, we told them we are physically removing them from the property and into the parking lot to be arrested. We officially closed in on them and started to put our hands out to push them towards the parking lot, not forcefully, but firmly. The quiet woman takes her wine glass and swings back, aiming for my boss's head. The game was officially on. He gets her into a locked position with her arms behind her back and starts dragging her towards the parking lot. She's kicking and screaming and trying to do anything she could to harm him and any of us. While this was all happening, the more loud friend was following behind, and I was trying to block her from running back into the winery. At a certain point, she tried to jump on my boss's back while he was restraining her friend, so I got her into restraints to stop her from interfering with the arrest. She scratched the absolute hell out of my arms. I told her I would let her go as soon as she calmed down. She didn't. My boss finally lost control of the woman who he was restraining, and she popped up from the floor, started running towards her car, screaming at the top of her lungs, "I'm gonna kill you all!" So I let go of her friend who I was restraining and pushed her as far away from me as I could, so I could try to grab her murderous friend. None of us could get her before she jumps in her Jeep. She backs out of her spot, turns her car around, and points it straight towards every employee in the winery watching. She puts her foot down on the gas at full speed and starts driving it straight towards us. Luckily, everyone was able to dodge her attempt to murder. She realizes she missed us, so she turns around and tries again for just the security team. We all jump out of the way again, so she makes a run towards the exit while almost taking out an entire family trying to get their car. Exits on the main road and cuts off a semi-truck, almost getting T-boned. She was gone, but we still had her shit-talking friend and we told her she was not free to leave. She stayed until the police arrived and got arrested. Like I said, none of us pressed charges on her, but we did press charges on her murderous friend who luckily was found at her home the following morning and got arrested and admitted to everything. We also found out this lovely woman was active duty Navy. God bless America, folks. Don't drink and try to murder people. 2. This story is from when I am a security guard used to fill in extra coverage at various sites. I am one of the guys that can stand anywhere, and during this time I fill in shifts at some 60 different projects. But first, usual disclaimers. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite the claws that snatch. Beware the Jub bird, and shun the frumious Bandersnatch. The background. This night, I am again scheduled to work at the interstate bus depot and train station. At a certain point in the evening, we lock down the building. Only folks with tickets for travel are allowed in until the ticket windows open in the morning. One of the reasons for this is nearby homeless shelter and the amount of crazy going on in the neighborhood at night. We want to keep our guests safe and sound. Routinely at night, I will patrol around the outside of the building and repel any of the crazy that is getting a little too close. Obviously, anyone on the city sidewalks has as much right to be there as I do, but the exterior areas that are clearly on the property are ours, and we keep it clear of trespassers. The event. One night in the wee hours of the morning, I am at the end of the front walk, and have just turned around to walk back up the length of the building when a truck comes down the road, slows down and ejects a young lady before taking off again. It hadn't really come to a stop, but just slowed enough to throw her out and leave. Now, the lights are off at this hour, and the only light tonight is blue moonlight. She walks up on the porch and is walking away from me on it. As I gain on her, I notice that she is the kind of skinny that only happens when your consumption habits are more chemical than nutritional. Despite the unhealthy skinniness, she looks pretty good with long reddish blonde hair, blue-tinged by the moonlight, going nearly down to her butt, and she appears to be wearing skin-tight leggings, also blue-tinged in the moonlight. But they look just way too tight. I'm close enough now for her to hear me. "Can we help you, ma'am?" She spins around now, and I realize she is but naked. She has a sweater pulled up over her chest, and seeing my uniform, she immediately pulls that down, so she is now covered to the belly. She then mutters some nonsense about her clothes falling apart while trying to put a sweatshirt on as a pair of pants, which does not work at all. Now, earlier in the night, one traveler had offered another one some unneeded sweatpants, but they had not been accepted. I'm thinking that whatever her story is, wherever she's going next, she will be safer in a pair of oversized sweatpants than walking around butt naked. I ask her to stay right there at the moment so I can go get them, but she will have none of it. She doesn't trust the uniform. Having sorted out that the sweatshirt won't work as pants, she wraps them around her waist like a skirt and just keeps walking. I go in and tell the traveler with spare sweatpants the situation, and he runs in the direction she was last seen headed in. But despite looking for her for maybe 10 minutes, he does not find her. I hope she got wherever she was going safe, and I would really love to know the rest of that story. But it looks like I came in the middle of a night that may have already been going seriously wrong for her. 3. The usual disclaimers. You talking to me? You talking to me? You must be talking to me. There's no one else here. The night I'm scheduled to work at the interstate bus depot and train station. At a certain point in the evening, we lock down the building. Only folks with tickets for travel. Well, you heard the last story, you know this part. One of my ticket holders that night is jonesing for a smoke. He's restless and anxious and going out the front doors about every 20 to 30 minutes to see if he can scrounge up a butt or two from the sidewalks. To smoke, not the other kind of butt. To make things right again. Trouble is, that door doesn't close properly, and if I don't catch him going out of it, a minute later I'm needing to remove someone without a ticket from the building. We have restrooms, but they are not public restrooms. They're for ticket holders only. It is already enough of a battle without this guy leaving the building open several times an hour. I go out front and red flag down a Korean riding around on a bike with all kinds of saddlebags. He's nervous that a guy in uniform is stopping him, so he stops at better than arm's reach to see what I need. He's out selling whatever you need to the crazies in the neighborhood, and I know that he knows I know that includes many things that he does not wish to be caught with. Which is why he's on a bike, a quick getaway if needed. I ask if he has smokes for sale, and of course he does. And he cuts me a better than normal deal. Although it's still a lot dearer than you would spend in a convenience store, I buy $1's worth. Relieved that is all I want, he scoots off. I go back in and place a small pile of cigarettes next to my restless troublemaker. His eyes go wide and relief cascades over his face. I point out where the smoking area is, and proceed to have a much saner remainder of the night. Best dollar I ever spent. 4. First, the usual disclaimers. Do not try to bend the post, that's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no post. The background. This is during one of my long shifts in the 100-year-old haunted building in the downtown area of our major city that was featured in 2 other posts about security in a haunted building. Now, since we are downtown, there is always an issue with homeless people, and the property owners can't stand it. Some of this I get. It is not uncommon to find corners of the parking area that have been made into latrines. It is not uncommon to find some trying to steal anything they think is of value. Mostly they just want to sleep undisturbed or hang out together for what social life they can manage. And these I have great patience with. So while I will still perform the legal limits of the client's request concerning their private property, I will often inform the people I am removing from the site what my legal limits are. The client wants them off his sidewalks. But most of what he is calling his sidewalks actually belong to the city, and I cannot remove them from city property any more than they can remove me. My authority ends at the invisible line between the client property and the city property, and I make sure they know where that line is. Sometimes it only means moving a few inches or centimeters or feet, maybe a meter. Often, since most of the work I do there is on the weekend and the client is nowhere nearby, I will go to a nearby fast food establishment and buy my lunch and accidentally buy a bag full of cheapo burgers for the crowd hanging out just off the property line. I'll get the same thing and eat with them. Some of them have proved very helpful in the past, keeping eyes out for issues and chasing off thieves, because they don't want to see me get in trouble. It works. The old gentleman. One time, as I'm going to the better quality fast food that is twice as far away, I find I am walking aside an older gentleman and we talk. He makes me laugh. I make him smile. I invite him for some dinner. They allow him in only because he is with me and I am in uniform. I normally take the food back to the building, but today I eat in the restaurant with my new friend. He asks where I work, and I tell him. After that, from time to time, he'll pop up at my building, sitting patiently where he knows I will be patrolling. We will always chat. We will often share a meal. Sometimes, due to job requirements, that isn't possible, but he never pushes, and is always grateful for what is possible. The night in question. On this evening, there has been wind. Some sandwich boards, put up up and down the street, advertising a business on the other side of the street, have blown over, and the one near my building has actually fallen into several pieces. It's on city property and does not concern any business in my building. I leave it be. On the ground floor of my building, there are a few businesses that are opened on Saturday night. One is a bar, another is a restaurant, which provides food to the clients of the bar also. The bar has a small metal fence that separates some tables and chairs from the rest of the sidewalk, and allows folks a place to sit outdoors while eating, smoking, and drinking. I routinely interact with this crowd while patrolling this stretch of sidewalk, and know all the regulars and servers by name at this point. Tonight, as I come out of the building, I find my old gentleman friend sitting on a planter box next to this fenced-off area. We exchange familiar greetings, and I ask how he's been. I can tell from the jumbled response that he is not completely straight. Normally in our previous encounters, he has been stone-cold sober, but not tonight. A few moments into our chat, he expresses some serious displeasure that no one has cleaned up the fallen sandwich board advertisements, and gets up to try and reassemble the broken one in front of the building. I tell him not to bother. The company being advertised needs to deal with it, but he isn't listening. I stand helpless while he attempts and fails. Finally, giving it up for a bad job, he returns to his seat on the planter. Before I can say another thing to him, I am accosted by a young female hipster warrior on the warpath. Think like Velma from Scooby-Doo, but stretched out a bit. Eyeglasses and everything. You can feel the angry just seething under the surface. She had just moments ago been sitting in the fenced-off area of the bar, witnessing my interaction with the old gentleman. Clearly, she had misunderstood it out of context.
Did you just make him pick that up?
No. I in fact told him not to bother with it.
That's right. You told me to leave it alone.
Oh. And then her brain resets for a moment. She had been ready to rip me a new one, but now finds she had no reason to do it.
Okay then.
I appreciate your passion and watching out for my friend here. It took guts to leave the bar and come get in the face of a guy in a uniform. And if I was the guy who would tease or treat the homeless poorly, I would be needing you to let me know it isn't cool, thank you.
Well, it's not what it looked like.
That's fine. At least you asked before you attacked. You're doing it the right way. Then I turn to the gent and ask if he has had any dinner yet. Her eyebrows go up a little more and she excuses herself to return to her friends. The old gent and I chat while we walk to our diner. 5. This story happens in 2002. I was working as a shift supervisor at a major train station. Back then, the railway company were going from manually selling tickets to selling tickets from automats and online. There were high-flying plans as to what kind of system and how they would do this. As an intermediate solution, my company was hired to get passengers to get used to buying tickets before entering the trains on the short-distance routes. Basically, we would ask to see their tickets, and if they didn't have any, we would direct them to the nearest ticket sale outlet or offer to let them buy tickets from us. We had tickets in cash on our person. Anyways, I was in charge of 10 guards and a ticket control team, and due to high turnover, we'd get new replacements every so often. This particular day, I was given 2 rookies, and I gave them the rundown of the site as well as handling our radios. We rotate positions every hour, but if it is cold outside, we let the 2 positions outside get relieved when they felt cold. Most of us would bring our jackets down onto the floor, as we knew we would be outside at some point during a shift. I made the point of telling the rookies that they should not be afraid of using the radio. No such thing as a stupid question, only stupid answers. Also, if the battery on the radio went flat, they would be allowed to come inside to switch batteries. All common sense in my mind. Lunch breaks roll around and I start helping out so the lunch breaks go without a hitch. Halfway through this, I notice there hasn't been any switching of positions on one track for well over an hour. I walk over and ask why, and the answer I got was that they haven't been thinking of it, as they have been so busy. I decided to go down outside and check on the posts there. I can clearly see one guard at the track next to the one I'm walking down and give him a thumbs up and get one back. The guard at this side is nowhere to be seen. So I decide to check the tunnel running under the tracks, as she might be gone checking it for heroin users shooting up their daily dose. And who do I see but a shivering, almost blue-in-her-face rookie guard? I blink and ask why the hell she's down here and why she's not wearing her jacket. Her answer is that she forgot hers up in the guard room. I tell her to go get inside ASAP and call on the radio for a replacement to cover the position. When I come up to the guard room with a warm cocoa for her, I sit down and say she could have radioed me to bring her jacket, or the others to replace her when it became too cold. She tells me she was too afraid she'd say something wrong on the radio, or that she would look like a wimp asking for a replacement after just 10 minutes. She had been outside for almost 45 minutes and almost minus 20 degrees Celsius. I told her that nobody expected her to be outside for this long wearing only uniform jumper and pants. We all had winter jackets and caps, and for radio procedures, nobody would reprimand her for using plain language. I sent her home for the day with pay, and told her to get a hot bath and please try not to be ill. But that was not to be, as she got the flu and was out for a week. Come to learn much later, she had actually been planted at our site by a media outlet to dig up some dirt about the guards at the site. So I guess karma got to her. To this day, I use this story to illustrate to new guards that I have to train that when in doubt, ask. And never be afraid of using the radio if issued one. And the most important thing, Use common sense. If it is cold outside, dress accordingly. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Insecurity, Episode 6. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use and sent in stories for use in this video. If you yourself have a story for this or any other series I do, please do send it along to kingofthecities@gmail.com. That's kingofthecities@gmail.com, which is the same address used for shoutouts and anything else you might need to contact me for. Alrighty, let's see. Oh yes, before you go, please do hit the like button and share the video with friends and family. Righty, let's move right along to Hellfreezer's question of the day. And today's question is, what kind of baked good, if you like baked goods, always makes you think of home? No matter where you are, it always brings you a sense of comfort. In my case, it is always going to be homemade scones. It makes me think of when I was younger, my mother baking in the kitchen, something I've learned how to make myself. I haven't done it for a while, but I've learned how to make it. Very simple to do, but very, very delicious and versatile. You can put like jam and peanut butter and chocolate and things on them. When I make them, I like to do them with a little cinnamon. Sometimes I'll put sultanas in them. Or if I'm not putting sultanas in them, I'll dip the tops in melted chocolate, and it's very, very nice. But do let me know, what makes you think of home? Is it a sweet thing? Is it a savory thing? What kind of baked good makes you think of home? Leave your answers in a comment below. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off for now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourself.